Hi there, I'm Mrs. Weiss. Welcome to Latin Storytime. Today, I'm going to be telling you the story of Rumpelstiltskin. First, let's learn the Latin words you'll hear in our story. Here are strumenta. Strumentum is a dried stalk of grain. In this picture, you can see there are a lot of strumenta gathered together, maybe to be used for animal bedding in a stable. In this next picture, a woman is net wool into thread. Before fabric can be made from wool, it first has to be neri on the wheel. Here we see someone dare a gift to another person. At Christmas time, people daunt gifts to one another. If your Christmas list is very long, you probably won't receive omne gift you ask for, but hopefully some. Finally, your nomen is what you are called. People will ask you for your nomen when they first meet you. My nomen, for example, is Mrs. Weiss. All right, we're ready for the story of Rumpelstiltskin. There was once a miller who was poor, but he had one beautiful daughter. It happened one day that he came to speak with the king, and trying to impress him, he told him that he had a daughter who could narrate gold out of strumentis. The king said to the miller, "That is an art that pleases me well. If thy daughter is as clever as you say, bring her to my castle tomorrow, that I may put her to the proof." When the girl was brought to him, he led her into a room that was quite full of stramentorum, and dedded her a wheel and spindle, and said, "Now set to work, and if by the early morning thou not newisti these strumenta to gold, thou shalt die." And he shut the door himself, and left her there alone. So the poor miller's daughter was left there sitting, and could not think what to do for her life. She had no notion how to set to work narre gold from strumentis, and her distress grew so great that she began to weep. Then suddenly the door opened, and in came a little man who said, "Good evening, miller's daughter. Why are you crying?" "Oh," answered the girl, "I have got narre gold out of strumentis, and I don't understand the business." Then the little man said, "What will you dabis me, if I nao it for you?" "My necklace," said the girl. The little man took the necklace, seated himself before the wheel, and whir, 3 times round, and the bobbin was full. Then he took up another, and whir, 3 times round, and that was full. And so he went on till the morning, when omnia strumenta neta erant, and omnes bobbins were full of gold. At sunrise came the king, and when he saw the gold, he was astonished and very much rejoiced, for he was very avaricious. He had the miller's daughter taken into another room filled with strumentis, much bigger than the last, and told her that as she valued her life, she must narre it in one night. The girl did not know what to do, so she began to cry. And then the door opened, and the little man appeared and said, "What will you dabis me if I nail omnia strumenta into gold?" "The ring from my finger," answered the girl. So the little man took the ring, and began again to send the wheel whirring round, and by the next morning omnia strumenta neta sunt into glistening gold. The king was rejoiced beyond measure at the sight, but as he could never have enough of gold, he had the miller's daughter taken into a still larger room full of strumentis, and said, "This too must narre in one night, and if you accomplish it, you shall be my wife." For he thought, although she is but a miller's daughter, I am not likely to find anyone richer in the whole world. As soon as the girl was left alone, the little man appeared for the 3rd time, and said, "What will you dabis me, if I nao strumenta for you this time?" "I have nothing left dare," answered the girl. "Then you must promise me the first child you have after you are queen," said the little man. "But who knows whether that will happen?" thought the girl. But as she did not know what else to do in her necessity, she promised the little man what he desired. Upon which he began narre until omnia strumenta was gold. And when in the morning the king came and found it done according to his wish, he caused the wedding to be held at once, and the miller's pretty daughter became a queen. In a year's time, she brought a fine child into the world, and thought no more of the little man. But one day he suddenly came into her room and said, "Now, da to me what you promised me." The queen was terrified greatly, and offered the little man omnes riches of the kingdom if he would only leave the child. But the little man said, "No, I would rather have something living than Omne's treasures of the world." Then the queen began to lament and to weep, so that the little man had pity upon her. "You may have 3 days," said he, "and if at the end of that time you cannot tell my nomen, you must dare the child to me." Then the queen spent the whole night in thinking over omnia nomina she had ever heard, and sent a messenger through the land to ask far and wide for omnia nomina that could be found. And when the little man came next day, she repeated omnia nomina she knew, beginning with Caspar, Melchior, Balthazar, and went through the whole list. But after each the little man said, "That is not my nomen." The second day the queen sent to inquire of Omne's neighbors what the servants were called, and told the little man omnia the most unusual and singular nomina, saying, "Perhaps you are called roast ribs, or sheepshanks, or spindleshanks?" But he answered nothing but, "That is not my nomen." The third day the messenger came back again and said, "I have not been able to find one single new nomen. But as I passed through the woods, I came to a high hill, and near it was a little house, and before the house burned a fire, and round the fire danced a comical little man, and he hopped on one leg and cried, 'Today do I bake, tomorrow I brew, the day after that the queen's child comes in, and oh, I am glad that nobody knew that nomen I am is called Rumpelstiltskin.' You cannot think how pleased the queen was to hear that nomen. And soon afterwards, when the little man walked in and said, 'Now, Mrs. Queen, what is my nomen?' She said at first, 'Are you called Jack?' 'No,' answered he. 'Are you called Harry?' she asked again. 'No,' answered he. And then she said, 'Then perhaps your nomen is Rumpelstiltskin.' 'The devil told you that! The devil told you that!' cried the little man, and in his anger he stamped with his right foot so hard that it went into the ground above his knee. Then he seized his left foot with both his hands in such a fury that he split in two, and there was an end of him. The end. Thanks for joining me today for Latin Storytime. I'll see you next time. Bye! Hey parents! I want to help your kids keep learning Latin beyond our story time together. Visit latinstorytime.com/signup for free access to each of my parents' guides, where I give you a list of the new words your child learned today and some tips to help you practice those words naturally in your daily life. And remember to click the YouTube subscribe button so you catch each new episode. Thanks for watching, and I hope your family enjoys your Latin learning together.